I've always loved feeling fear. Roller coasters, haunted houses, horror movies. I've also suffered from paralyzing anxiety my entire life. It sounds contradictory, but I think I enjoy anything that lets me feel in control of fear, or at least believe I am. My friend Adam got me into urban exploration. You'd be surprised how many abandoned buildings exist right in the middle of a crowded, bustling city. For me, it's actually more peaceful than terrifying. A silent refuge. A place completely forgotten by the outside world. We were on our way to one with a couple more friends. An old hospital that had closed years ago. They put up a makeshift fence, but for some reason, the grounds remained untouched. The GPS showed half a mile. My excitement grew as we got closer. "Wow, what's that?" Adam asked, stopping abruptly and turning toward an almost imperceptible path into a wooded area. We were on the outskirts of the city, but there wasn't much foliage here, just a few scattered trees. This was the closest thing to a forest we'd find in this area. "It's not going to lead anywhere, man. Probably just a service road next to the highway," Chris said. "Oh, that... How have I never noticed it before?" Adam replied. He pointed toward the sky, and above the thin layer of trees, I could see the upper floors of a massive building towering over us. "It's pretty weird. I've never seen it either," I said, and none of us had. We were stunned. All four of us have lived in this area our entire lives, not to mention our obsession with exploring. Not only had we never seen this enormous building before, but we'd also never come across it in any of the forums we used to discover new places. Adam immediately started walking down the path. Driven by curiosity, we followed. The path led us straight to the entrance. A rotten wooden door that looked surprisingly ancient. In fact, the entire building seemed older and more decayed than any we'd explored before. "This could be dangerous, bro. It looks completely destroyed. Someone's gonna end up falling through the floor or stepping on a rusty nail. This is a terrible idea," I said. I knew perfectly well we'd faced the same risks before and had never been scared. But now I was terrified to the core. I don't ever remember having such a strong, bad feeling about something. "Why hasn't anyone demolished this place? It's huge." Jay chimed in. "In this area, they filled every available space with houses and shopping centers, yet they left this spot untouched." Aside from Adam, Jay was the most adrenaline-addicted person I knew, but I could hear the fear in his voice too. Adam said nothing. He just kicked the door open and walked in. "Adam, wait, bro, stop for a second," I shouted. He didn't, he just kept walking. "Come on, man, let's just go find the hospital." We tried to reason with him, but he didn't respond. Didn't turn around, just kept moving. "Damn," I muttered. "We have to follow him, he's gonna get hurt." Protesting to no one about how we were all going to get injured inside, we cautiously entered the building. We yelled for Adam to wait, but we saw him turn a corner. By the time we caught up, he was gone. We froze, staring down the long hallway, frantically calling his name. "He must be in one of these rooms," Chris said. We started walking down the hall, peeking into each one. Most had doors hanging off their hinges. Rust, cobwebs, and rot surrounded us. We tried to avoid what we could. Puddles of dirty water and parts of the floor that seemed ready to collapse under the slightest weight. "Ah, fuck! Chris screamed at the top of his lungs. I ran to him and found him tearing off his shirt and shaking violently. He still had cobweb remnants in his hair. "Get it off of me! Get it off!" He sobbed desperately. "Calm down, bro. You're fine. It's just a cobweb," I said, trying to sound composed. He shoved me away. "Screw this. If Adam wants to ignore us and break his ass falling down the stairs, let him," Chris yelled. running back the way we come. I returned to the hallway and called for Jay, telling him Chris was leaving and maybe we should wait for Adam outside. I waited for Jay to come out of one of the rooms, but he never did. Jay? Damn it! Alright, I'm leaving too. Sorry guys, but I've had enough. I shouted into the empty hallway as I headed back towards the entrance. I turned the corner, back the way we come. Or so I thought. Instead, I found myself staring down another long hallway, almost identical to the last, but somehow even older, more decayed, more forgotten by time. But there was no sign of the entrance. No door. I started screaming for Chris, completely frantic as panic took over. No response. At the top of my lungs, I screamed for anyone, but all I heard was the echo of my own trembling voice. Okay, I said aloud to no one but myself, trying to calm down. I was going to break a window and get the hell out. But there were no windows. How could there be no windows? Hadn't we seen them from outside? Wouldn't we have noticed something so strange in such a massive building? Nothing made sense. And then I noticed it. There was no graffiti on the walls. There was always graffiti. Signs of life, of other explorers, of someone. I felt sick, dizzy. My vision tunneled as I looked around and realized there was nothing here but endless empty hallways. Everything looked exactly the same. I was a rat in a maze, and the moment I realized that, I swear I felt it. The building knew it had trapped me. The flight instinct took over, and I ran faster than I'd ever run in my life, screaming for my friends, screaming for anyone, begging and pleading into the silence for help. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw it. I saw Adam in the room closest to me. He was there, completely still, facing the corner. I saw him, I swear I saw him, but when I reached the room, he was gone. Questioning my own sanity, panicked and desperate, I froze. I couldn't move. My body was paralyzed. Brian, where are you? It was Adam. I could hear him calling me. I snapped out of my paralysis immediately, running as fast as I could towards the sound of his voice. I called out frantically, but only silence answered my screams. All I could do was wander, drift through the endless hallways, sobbing uncontrollably. I clung to the absurd hope that maybe, if I kept searching, I'd find something to break through the concrete walls surrounding me, but deep down I knew it was useless. I was going to die here. I walked for hours through the endless maze of hallways. The adrenaline had completely faded. I was exhausted, but I couldn't stop. I couldn't stay still, trapped with my thoughts. Every time I tried to stay in one place, it felt like the walls were closing in on me. Like the building was waiting for the perfect moment to devour me. I had to keep moving. Going even deeper into the maze. With no sense of time, I wasn't surprised my phone had no signal. The weirdest part was that the time was frozen at 4:20. From the first moment I pulled it out of my pocket to try calling 911, the clock hadn't changed. The phone worked, except for the time, which remained static. Damn! I screamed as I fell down a staircase. I felt some of the steps break under my weight, and I tumbled uncontrollably until I slammed into the ground. For a moment I lay still, terrified to look at my own body for injuries. With effort I managed to stand, swaying. Everything hurt, my head was pounding, and every part of my body felt like one big bruise. But at least nothing seemed broken. Thank God. Wait, stairs. I'd found stairs. Finally, something different from the damn hallway maze. The relief made me let out a hysterical laugh. I was so relieved by the change of scenery that it took me a moment to process the horror of realizing I'd destroyed my only way back. Now I was trapped in a dark, disgusting basement. The only light came from above, well, from the hallways. The windowless hallways. Another absurd detail I hadn't wanted to notice before. where was the light coming from? At least my phone's flashlight still worked. I scanned the room with the beam from side to side. It was completely empty, except for a small hole in the farthest corner. I pointed the flashlight and saw it was a sloping tunnel. Could I crawl inside? The idea disgusted me. I was surprised my mind even considered it. But what other choice did I have? Where else could I go? Damn! I whispered shakily as I got on my knees and started descending. The tunnel was barely wide enough for me to crawl through. I felt the ceiling brushing against my back. The claustrophobia hit me immediately. What if it got narrower? Would I have to go backward? No. Panic overtook me before I could go further. I started crawling back, trying to retreat against the slope. I kept going and going. By that point, I should have been back in the basement. I was sure if I'd crawled farther back than I'd gone forward in the first place. Like a slap, I remembered the absurdity of this place and, desperate, crawled forward again as fast as I could. No, I can't get stuck in this damn tunnel. Please don't let me get stuck here. I screamed, even though I knew no one could hear me. Surrounded by darkness, with only my phone's flashlight as salvation, I kept going. The tunnel seemed to slope downward more and more. I had no idea how far I'd gone or how much farther it would go. Eventually, my body gave out. Thirst, exhaustion, despair, they'd consumed me. I couldn't move. I collapsed and sobbed, lying in the tunnel I was sure I'd never escape. I must have fallen asleep. I don't know how, but when I woke up, my phone's battery was about to die. Oh, great, so the battery isn't frozen just the damn time. Fantastic, I growled, tempted to throw the phone in frustration. I looked at the screen. 4:20. With nothing better to do, I continued my descent. Knowing the worst was yet to come. The flashlight would die, and then I'd be in complete darkness until I died. Black. Total darkness. The terror I felt when the light disappeared is something I can't describe with words. I just kept going. I had to. It was like the fear was growing behind me, stepping on my heels, stalking me. Was there a limit to fear? A point where the brain just gave in to hopelessness and reached some kind of calm? My thoughts felt like dissociated voices in the silence. But I hadn't reached that point of resignation yet. The fear kept devouring me. And then the darkness and silence broke. Laughter? I could hear children laughing, and ahead, a light. I never moved so fast in my life. I crawled with the speed of a professional sprinter straight toward the sound, toward the light. But the farther I went, the more it faded. It was like I was moving away from it. How was that possible? Screw you! I screamed at this place that seemed to torment me in the worst possible way at every opportunity. In my paranoid mind, this place was alive. This place was mocking my pathetic attempts to survive. I froze when the light and laughter faded so much I could barely hear them. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't go back to the silence. I couldn't take it. But then it started growing and growing, somehow becoming more sinister as the volume increased. Louder, louder, louder. The laughter enveloped me, becoming so deafening I had to cover my ears, which were already ringing. The light intensified, so bright I could no longer see the tunnel. I couldn't see anything, blinded by that burning light. I closed my eyes and screamed with all my might, but my screams were completely drowned out by the thunderous sound of the ceaseless laughter. When I opened my eyes again, I was kneeling in a classroom. It was old and empty, but it didn't look decayed or abandoned like the rest of this place. A window. I ran toward it at full speed. Looking down, I saw children playing and laughing. I pounded on the window with my fists, screaming desperately at the children below. I couldn't be more than 2 stories up. They had to hear me. Help! Please help me! I begged over and over. I screamed and pleaded, but none of the children turned to look at me. Watching them more closely, I noticed something that chilled me to the bone. The children were playing Ring Around the Rosie, jumping rope, chasing each other, throwing a ball over and over. And I heard them sing, "Ashes, ashes, we all fall down." I watched them fall, get up, and repeat the song again. I saw the girl with the jump rope not missing a single step, repeating the same motion over and over. The other children played tag in a loop, running in the same circles again and again. I saw a boy throw a ball, and another hit it, but glitched like in a video game. They reset, throw, hit, throw, hit. "No," I whispered. As if I could still be surprised by the impossible at this point. But I couldn't take it anymore. The fleeting sense of hope vanished and something inside me just broke. I grabbed a chair and threw it out the window with all my strength, then another and another. Nothing. I tried to break it with all my energy, but it might as well have been made of steel. Rage consumed me like never before, and I screamed at the building. I screamed at myself. I screamed at Adam. I screamed at nothing. I returned to the window, trying to allow myself one last moment of sunlight. But when I looked down, I was horrified. The children had stopped playing. They were completely still, stiff as wood, all their backs turned to me. I closed my eyes, as if making them disappear with my will was possible. And when I opened them again, they were gone. The playground where they'd been was now a cracked, weed-covered ruin. The cement broken with more determination than I had. I was never getting out of here. There were no cracks to escape through. I left the classroom in disbelief, still processing the impossible things I'd witnessed. Why couldn't I break the window? Why were the children glitching like some damn system error? And why the hell were they dressed up like they were from the 1920s? The fact I'd descended, crawling, and ended up on a second floor was the least strange part of all. But for some reason, it was the only thing my mind could focus on. The rest was too much to even try to comprehend. I walked through another maze of hallways for who knows how long. Just waiting for nothing, waiting for something. The building wasn't done with me yet. I could feel it. It was still tormenting me. Still. Before I could finish the thought, I heard a loud crack as the floor disappeared beneath my feet. I don't know how long I was unconscious, but I woke up dazed and disoriented. The pain came immediately. My head was pounding. I must have bruised every last rib, and my shoulder was dislocated. The pain was unbearable. I tried to pop it back in like they do in movies and almost passed out. I forced myself to stand, not allowing myself even a moment of relief that my legs still worked. I didn't want to tempt this place to change at any moment. Another damn hallway. But this one was different somehow. There were lights on. Everything looked clean. Too clean, sterile. Before I could process what I was seeing, I watched a woman walk past me. She was wearing an old nurse's uniform, maybe from the 1950s. I let out a desperate cry for help, but she didn't even turn to look at me. Stunned, I watched her approach another nurse. They were talking. Their lips moved, but no sound came out. "Help me! Please help me!" I kept screaming, trying to get their attention, but they didn't even see me. I turned to look around, and when I looked back, they were gone. I ran down the hall and threw open her room door. I screamed at the woman in the bed, but she just stared at the ceiling. I tried 2 more rooms. Nothing. I opened the last door at the end of the hall and saw an old man lying in bed. His eyes moved toward me. God, you can see me. You can really see me, right? Can you help me? Please, do you know where we are? I need help. Call a nurse, I exclaimed, running to his side. His breathing grew more labored, his eyes darting back and forth. He looked terrified. I could tell he was trying to move, but clearly he couldn't. Please blink if you can see me. The man blinked twice. I grabbed his arm, excited, desperate. Help me, help me. The man started trembling, then convulsing, his unnatural movements growing more and more frantic. His eyes flew wide open, and suddenly, all movement stopped. He was dead. I screamed, pounding his chest desperately with my one good arm, but it was useless. This damn place, lets you glimpse hope just to make you feel the true despair of being trapped here and with full force. When I left the man's room, I was back in a ruined hallway. But that man saw me. That was real. I didn't imagine it. I know I didn't. My thoughts were my own again for a moment, and they began racing uncontrollably. There has to be a way out. There has to be some way to get out of here. I turned the corner, and this time I found myself in a huge circular room. It was completely empty but immaculate. A perfectly polished tile floor, as if it had just been scrubbed. A chandelier hung from the high ceiling, but 2 things didn't fit. 1, a huge hole in the wall in front of me, and 2, the word "run" written all over the walls from the floor up to chest height. I did what it said and ran towards the hole. Another tunnel, but this one was much larger and lit by torches. I ran until the opening led to a cavern, an entire cave system illuminated by torches. It reminded me of a secret passage under an ancient castle. Another maze, I realized. The cave is split into seemingly infinite paths. The only thing I could do was choose one. Inside the belly of this beast, I was now certain this place existed to confuse anyone who entered, that no one who set foot here was meant to find the exit. But why? I walked for a long time, the passage growing narrower until I was crawling again. By this point, almost nothing affected me. I guess I'd finally reached my fear limit. The only thing left was survival instinct. When the tunnel narrowed so much I could barely move, I found a small metal door. I'll do my best to describe what I found on the other side, but I doubt I'll ever be able to fully explain it. At first, it resembled 2 mirrors facing each other, creating the illusion of infinite reflections until they became too small to distinguish. An illusion of distance where there shouldn't be any. An illusion of infinity. But instead of just 2 mirrors, there seemed to be countless reflections generated in an endless loop around me. This place stretched and expanded without limits, in all directions, and I swear it moved, and twisted, expanded and contracted, breathed. I couldn't comprehend what I was seeing, but I felt this room was alive. Infinite layers of reality, like tentacles stretching through time and existence. It looked like a hologram, and any concept of material structure phased in and out. It felt like I was inside an infinite computer program, constantly being redesigned. A living machine. I lost all sense of time, space, even myself. I was just a part of this thing. I wasn't even aware of my own body until something grabbed me. This creature, I guess you could call it that, but it wasn't really a being. Its features were completely undefined. It changed shape and and faded incessantly. Its form mutated so fast I couldn't follow it, as if it could take on any and all forms at once. I saw more of them, so many more. They appeared and disappeared from this place, entering and exiting infinite dimensions across time and space, and yet they were a part of it. They functioned like organs of this living machine, and at the same time, were completely aware of their role within it. As I tried to process what I was seeing, being dragged through infinity in all directions, I could see different worlds, different realities, some so alien to me I didn't even have a frame of reference to retain them in my memory. And then I was flung at incredible speed through time and space back to the starting point. I looked at the ground and found myself standing on the almost imperceptible path. "Wow, what's that?" Adam asked, stopping abruptly. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. All four of us were back, repeating the exact same events that had led us to that place, to the entrance of it all. I don't remember the next hour. My friends told me the rest when they came to visit me at the psychiatric hospital. Apparently, I had a psychotic break. I started screaming and crying, sobbing and begging them to stay away from that place. I kept screaming until I collapsed and my friends called an ambulance. But they weren't my friends. The person I knew as Adam was named Jacob. He looked like Adam, but he wasn't Adam. The other two, I didn't recognize them at all. My parents were the same people I remembered, but my name wasn't. Everyone calls me Lucas. I no longer have a younger sister, but now I have an older brother. They can call me a schizophrenic, paranoid, delusional, but they don't have a diagnosis for the sister I know I had. For the brother, I know I never had. For the years of memories I shared with her, and the years of memories I didn't share with him, I told them I wasn't crazy. I told them how I'd stumbled into a place I was never meant to be. A space in between. Between this constructed version of reality and whatever built it. I told them my real friends were still trapped there. I told them how an eternal creature sent me back to the wrong place, the wrong world. They told me I'd be here for a long time. Hey everybody, Kevin here from Nightmares Nightly. Let me know what you thought of the story down below. I don't really know exactly what to take from this one. At first it almost sounded like a Matrix kind of thing, and then it sounded like interdimensional beings who can go in between dimensions and realities and put him in the wrong one. Now I got a question for you. If this happened to you and you were put into the wrong reality, would you try to find that building? Would you try to go back? Even though you have the risk of maybe being stuck there, dying there, what would you do to get back to your family, to your reality? I know I'd go back.